Okay guys, now in this slide we will be discussing types of routing. Basically, we can perform routing at two categories. One is called static routing and the other is called dynamic routing. Dynamic routing has further two categories which are called interior gateway routing and the other is called exterior gateway routing. Interior gateway routing is actually performed within an autonomous system, and protocols used for interior gateway routing which are actually performed within an autonomous system are routing information protocol, shortly RIP, enhanced interior gateway routing protocol which is shortly called EIGRP, and open shortest path first protocol which is shortly called OSPF. Exterior gateway routing is actually conducted between two different autonomous systems, and the protocol used for such type of routing is called border gateway protocol or shortly BGP. I will be discussing all these topics in details one by one. Okay guys, we will begin with the static routing. Static routing is actually manually entering route into the router by typing IP routing command. Static routing is actually done by the network administrator, network engineer, who is responsible for configuration of the network. Network administrator manually enters proposed routes into the router, and then these routes will be selected by router and will be put into the routing table. As you can see here, we have three different routers: router A, router B and router C. Router A will have a routing table, router B will have a routing table, and router C will have a routing table. So what is a routing table? Routing table is actually a matrix or a table that will contain desired or selected routes through which a router will forward packets. Whenever router gets a packet that is to be forwarded, router will look into the routing table. If that route is present in the routing table, router will forward it according to the route prescription or according to the route specification as shown in the routing table. In another case, if a router receives a packet that is destined for some destination, but that destination is not present in the routing table, the router will simply reject that packet. So we can see here we have three different routers A, B, C. All of them have certain routing tables. Let's come to the routing table of router A. Router A have an Ethernet port which is denoted as E0 and a serial port which is denoted as S0. We can see here there is a network 10.1.0.0 which is connected to E0, and there is network 10.2.0.0 which is connected to S0, and there are ports here mentioned which are denoted by 0, 0 and 1, 2. So we can see here the network which is connected to the port. We can simply observe that that network is appended to the same port, like 10.1.0 network is connected to port Ethernet 0, which is denoted by E0. So in nutshell, each router must have a routing table. That routing table has routes. That routing table has networks. If a router receives a packet which is mentioned in the routing table, router will simply forward that packet according to the network mentioned in the routing table. If it's not mentioned, it will simply be rejected and flushed out. So the static route is actually manually entered into the router by the administrator. And as I told you that packets are routed using the static route. So the route which is entered into the routing table by the network administrator is actually called static route. And network administrator manually configures it. So there is a command used for configuring static routing, which is IP route, and then you must mention destination network and then subnet mask of that destination network, and then next hop address or exit interface, and then optionally you can mention administrative distance, and then you can optionally use the keyword permanent. So, and each of this category has certain meaning which I will relatively explain it.